Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. Apologies for the late video today. I just got home, had a bunch of, I guess, other IRL tasks, if you will, to finish up. But nonetheless, we are here and let's talk about Tesla as we usually do regardless. It is, of course, a Friday, so the final day to the week. So we'll go over everything, what we can expect moving forward. Of course, a big weekend actually coming up because, we get the delivery and production numbers for Tesla's Q1, most likely coming out Sunday. So that's gonna be pretty big as well. And yeah, let's just go over everything together. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, guys, don't forget to hit that like button. It does help a lot. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research. But all that being said and done, Tesla looking like it is closing at up 6.24%, putting us at about $207.50, which is, I have to say, quite a substantial move compared to the market. You can see Tesla absolutely outperforming the market, no question about it, by almost twice the amount, if you will, because in theory, Tesla in line with the market should have been up today, maybe around, 3, give or take percent. It's up pretty much 6, right? So an absolute outperformance for Tesla. However, there's a few things to talk about. So we talked about yesterday how if Tesla ever breaks 200 and gets back in the channel, I would be bullish. And that's essentially what happened today, right? Today, that's pretty much what happened. We came up to this on the first hour, pretty much exactly to 200. And this is like the do or die kind of moment. And you can see as Tesla started breaking above it on the smaller time frames, actually even smaller than this is to this, right? You can see it went right above it on this candle, came back down, kind of retested it a little bit successfully, it seemed like. Easily could have collapsed, so this was still very risky. But nonetheless, you can put like a trade in here, for instance, and put a stop like underneath, for instance, like 199 or something like that, right? Pretty good risk versus reward there. And then it, of course, ended up just completely rocketing since, which is quite damn nice to see. So pretty good stuff, honestly, for Tesla. Now, this is also why I always talk about how it's very important not to be one-sided. So you shouldn't just be a bear. You shouldn't just be a bull, at least in my opinion. And this is why, because you get situations like this. And this is why when we were over here, I talked about how, and I closed out my cash secured puts, which was a bullish position for March. I ended up just reopening the same month, but this time for end of April instead. And I was holding those pretty much this whole time over here because, I did think that there was still a move like this that could happen. Obviously, I was more bearish than bullish. At least I thought the move down was more likely, but I didn't factor out the fact that the move to the upside is still very much in play. I think I gave it like a 30% odd or something like that, which is why I still held some bullish positions so that if it does rally like it has, for instance, today or the past even couple of days, in all honesty, I would actually ride that momentum still, maybe not as much as I would like to, but absolutely still have enough skin in the game to be happy with that. So with that being said, by the way, I have started to close out my position. I closed out half of the bullish position of the cash secured puts I have. I have closed half of them for about 65% profits, and I will close the rest out if we do make it up to somewhere around 210 to 215. Most likely 215 is where I'll close out the second half of it if we do get up there. Now, question is, of course, what happens next? I mean, where does Tesla go here from here, right? Is this the top? Is this a bull trap? Are we going to rally? Like, what's going to happen, right? It's a pretty hard thing to say here, mainly because it will pretty much depend on what happens on Sunday with the delivery numbers as well, right? That's going to be extremely important because that will be a pretty major catalyst. Now, I will say, again, I'm just saying what I think. If you get upset by it, that's your fault. In my opinion, it's your fault. But usually when you rally into the news like we are today, of course, the news being, the production delivery numbers on Sunday, rallying into the news is usually not a good sign. The only good sign from this rally, in my opinion, is the fact that it's on some pretty, respectable volume. I wouldn't say it's high volume, but it's absolutely respectable, right? Definitely respectable volume, much higher than the past week and a half of trading or whatever, right? So that's good. That's actually a good thing, right? So the fact that we are rallying on this kind of volume, not too bad at all. That is a good sign. If this was lower volume than yesterday, this would have just been hideously bad. This would have screamed bull trap. But because there is actually some volume backing it up, not bad. Honestly, not too shabby. So, but with that being said, rallying into news like this for Tesla, especially more often than not, ends up usually being a sell the news type event. Buy the rumor, sell the news. You know what I mean? So we'll see if that actually ends up being the case. But with all that being said, because Tesla had this beautiful rally, what I personally wouldn't be surprised is if once we get the news, if Tesla actually on Monday sells off on the news, comes back to 200, and then I think from here, it might go up finally to this level up here, right? Something like this wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. However, with that being said, I personally, overall, regardless if we do this little drop first and then rally, or we just go straight up from the news on Monday, could very well be the case as well. Regardless of which path it takes, I personally do think that at the very least we will come up to $210. I will be quite honestly a little surprised if we do not come up to $210, potentially as high as $215, right? So those are the main levels now I am looking at. And with that being said, if Tesla does come up to 215, which again, I still think is a very real possibility, and I'll explain even more why, and I've said this in several videos before, but I'll reiterate it one more time, I will personally be most likely entering a short position on Tesla. I will be entering, I will buy puts, right? And with the stop being pretty much 220, I would say, honestly, or above like 217, 218-ish, something like that, right? So we talked about that this move is possible many times already, right? Even though I was definitely more bearish, I was more biased to the bearish side, we still always kept an open mind and always discussed the fact that this move that we're currently experiencing and potentially still a little bit more is extremely, not extremely likely, but absolutely still in play. And that's essentially because of this pattern up here in the top left, right? We talked about this pattern. We talked about the situation many times. I said this in so many videos now that it really feels like we're replicating it. If you look at it, we've talked about it already. It's almost an identical pattern. The movement is like shockingly similar, right? And we're pretty much right around here right now. Somewhere around this general area is where we are, with of course still a little bit of room left to the upside, similar to what it did here, how it had a massive rallies, and then it ultimately came back up to the same level that these two spots got rejected at, which is essentially where we are getting rejected, at least in the past, pretty much around that same level, being that 210 to 215-ish level. And it seems like this is more or less pretty much doing the exact same thing as it did over here. It came back up to that same level. In this case, I think it'll come up to 210, 215, and most likely get rejected. Now, again, a lot of people think, oh, it's because Elon was selling. That's why Tesla fell so hard right after. And I do partially agree. I definitely think it's more than that. I don't think it's just because Elon was selling, but I definitely think it's absolutely part of the problem. And it just made the situation a lot worse than it maybe would have been instead. With that being said, I don't think we're going to see something like this. I do not believe this will happen. It might. I don't think it will. I personally think it'll be something more like this, maybe about half the move or something like that, maybe even a third of the move to the downside, right? So, like I would say about half of this move I think will play out, but not because Tesla is going to collapse because for whatever reason it's Tesla or something like that. I think it's the whole markets. I think the market will find a way down or move its way down, which of course naturally Tesla I think will follow as well, right? That's kind of what I'm expecting to happen. But ultimately the major resistance, guys, absolutely astronomical resistance coming up again, 210, 215. At 215 specifically, I will be looking to add puts on Tesla, and we'll see what that comes into, or what happens with that. Another thing I want to kind of pay attention or pay you guys attention to is going to be the RSI on the daily. So you can see as we came up to this level over here, the highest point was when we ended this candle right here, which was around 207. Then we went even higher and we started setting up a bit of a bearish divergence, right? Well, now we're setting up a much more like overall broader, like a midterm, if you will, bearish divergence. Because you can see Tesla is now at pretty much 207.5, which really is not far at all from these levels up here, right? It's only a few points away, but the RSI is substantially lower than these levels, especially this candle right here that was essentially where we closed at today, right? So even though we're pretty much at more or less the exact same level over here, the RSI still has a bit of a ways to go before it gets to this level over here. So that's a little bit of a bearish divergence setting up. So just keep that in mind moving forward. That's not a good sign. So ultimately, I still strongly believe that this will at around 215 to 210 be a bull trap. We'll see, of course, maybe it won't, maybe it'll rocket past, maybe it'll come up to even 220 potentially. It's still possible. But ultimately, I do believe that this is going to be a massive bull trap. I think the SPY is setting up a massive bull trap, similar reasoning as well. I think the QQQ also setting up a bull trap. In fact, this is a much more obvious bearish divergence because in this case, the stock, or I guess QQQ, actually went even higher, substantially higher than these levels over here, right? And what did the RSI do? It's not even higher than this level, way back here at 311, even though the QQQ is at essentially 321, right? So just keep that in mind, guys. That's important to understand, right? That's just kind of what I am personally seeing at the moment. So we'll see what that ends up happening. I also believe that this, potential that this will be essentially a massive double top, which just really seems like it's going to be playing out. It doesn't mean it has to. For instance, QQQ was playing out something similar like this, but clearly bounced above it and went and broke above it. So that's something to consider, right? It doesn't mean it has to play out, but it's absolutely something to consider, at least for now, right? But those are the major, I guess, key aspects, if you will, that I am personally looking at as of right now. And again, this is also why it's always important to not be biased towards one side. Like I said earlier, even though I was more biased to the bearish side, I didn't completely forego and disregard the bullish side, which again, happened to be the one that played out. Sometimes it's like that, right? You can't, of course, accurately know the market. If I knew exactly what the market will do step by step, I would be probably richer than Elon Musk. Let's be honest here. You know what I mean? That's just kind of how it works. It's all about probability. The probability to me was the bearish side being higher than the bullish side. However, with that being said, I still had, at least for me, enough bullish upside exposure so that if something like this were to play out, I get exposure to that and I do make money off of that regardless. I don't have at the moment any puts, any shorts, or anything on the market or Tesla, but again, Tesla 315 or 215, I most likely will start entering them. But that's essentially what I'm seeing, guys. Let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button. The final thing I want to take a quick look at very quickly is, of course, TSLQ. Actually, very important. This is the inverse of Tesla. Essentially does the literal opposite of what Tesla does. And you can see it is coming down to what arguably could be a massive support level, right? Same as Tesla's looking like it's doing a double top. This looks like it's doing a potential double bottom, right? Just keep that in mind. And it's also setting up a bullish divergence because now it's pretty much at the exact same level as it was back here, even though the RSI, you can see, is substantially higher. That right there is a bullish divergence, especially if it actually ends up going lower, which again is possible. Like for instance, Tesla going to 220, this would of course come down even lower to probably somewhere around 40, right? That would even further be a massive, a further bullish divergence setup because this RSI most likely will still not break lower than this. Just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. That is essentially what I am seeing. That is what I'm thinking, and that is what I'm kind of doing moving forward. So yeah, let me know what you think down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.